Welcome back to Horror Movies.
Today, I will be showing you a horror/drama film from 2020 titled The Maid. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The story starts as the former maid of a family tells her therapist about a ghost she sees at the house she maids for. A little girl named Nid is the only kid in the house. She has a toy monkey. According to the maid, when Nid falls asleep, the monkey moves around and makes noises. She has had too much of this torment, so she quits the job. She tells her therapist that she also sees the spirit of a girl in the house. She assumes that the spirit is of the house's other maid. Only she and the little girl Nid can see the spirit of the girl. Uma is Nid's mother and the one who runs everything in the house. She promises Nid to find a new maid. Uma's husband is a wealthy businessman named Narak. Uma and Narak's relationship is not great, but they are still together because of Nid and Uma's father. Like the maid said to her therapist, Nid can see the spirit. But Uma and Narak think that Nid is just delusional. Nid's doctor diagnoses her with dementia. Her parents are worried for her. That night, Uma sneaks into Narak's office. It seems as though she is looking for something when she finds some pictures hidden inside a book. The next day, the house's new maid Joy arrives. She is welcomed by the head of the maids, Wan. Wan shows her around the house to make Joy familiar with it. She explains her duties and the rules of the house. Wan also introduces Joy to Nid. Joy tries making a conversation with Nid, but she doesn't speak. Wan reveals that she is a shy kid. She doesn't talk very much and loves to draw. Nid has never been out of this house. In the end, Wan tells Joy to be sure to mind her own business if she wants to survive in the house. The house driver, Chai, takes Joy to her headquarters. It is a beautiful home with many rooms just beside the mansion. Joy is happy to get a whole house to herself. When Chai leaves, she starts unpacking. It is now night. Her new maid uniform is kept on the bed. She is fascinated by it, so she poses with it in front of the mirror. As she does it, she notices someone running upstairs. She takes a candle stand as a torch and follows the footsteps upstairs. She then sees someone stand at the end of the stairs. Joy is too scared to approach them, so she goes back to her room. She lies on her bed thinking about her old bosses. She used to work at a foreign family's house as their maid. Her boss used to look at her with lustful eyes. That night Joy dreams of someone standing at her door and wakes up terrified. It is now the next day. Today is her first day at work. Before she starts working, Wen takes her to Uma, who asks her about her old job. Joy answers she left it because the family left for their country after selling their house and land. Joy's primary job is to take care of Nid. Other than that, she has to help other maids in their job. That day, Joy puts Nid to sleep by singing a song her sister used to sing to her. As she is about to leave the room, Joy senses someone standing in the corner, but sees no one when she turns around. Joy runs into Narak while taking out laundry. He asks her name but doesn't say anything when she answers. Joy meets the other housemaid Porn in the kitchen. The three maids work together as Porn plays music in full volume. Later at night, Joy bathes Nid in her bathroom. Nid is in the bathtub playing with bubbles. Suddenly, she stares at someone behind Joy at the door. Joy checks but no one is beside her. However, when she stands up, she sees someone standing behind her through the mirrors. Joy is startled but she isn't scared. The girls get out of the bath. Joy asks Nid if she saw the person in the mirror. Nid nods. She then asks Joy to read her a bedtime story. Agreeing, Joy searches for a book and finds the one her sister used to read to her. After Nid falls asleep, Joy leaves. But just as she sleeps, Nid wakes up and sits on her bed. She comes face to face with the ghost. The next day, Joy snoops around the house library with an excuse to clean it. There, she finds a picture of Uma, Narak, and another maid. Suddenly, Joy notices the ghost standing in a corner watching her. She realizes that the ghost is of the maid in the picture. Terrified, Joy runs away from her. She stops when she sees Nid standing at the doorway. The ghost pulls Nid inside and locks the door. As Joy looks through the glass door to try and help Nid, she appears behind her, but the ghost is still inside. Scared, Joy takes Nid with her and rushes away from there. The girls tell everything they had witnessed to Uma, but she dismisses their concerns and doesn't take them seriously. Joy shows Uma the picture she had found earlier and tells her that the ghost looked exactly like the maid in it. Uma just asks her how she found the picture but doesn't acknowledge the ghost. Joy tells her she found it while cleaning the library and leaves. When everyone is gone, Uma stares at the maid in the picture. She starts reminiscing about her. The maid's name is Ploy. She came to their house almost 6 years back. Narak used to ignore Uma. They always fought and Uma had no friend to talk to. She was very lonely when she started getting to know Ploy. Soon, she began to share everything with her. Their friendship grew with time, and Uma became very affectionate with Ploy. One day when Narak stayed out for work, Uma and Ploy had sex. Uma stares at the picture of her former best friend. From the next day, Joy starts inquiring with Wan and Porn about Ploy. Wan dismisses her and tells her to mind her own business. However, Porn tells her that Ploy used to work there for a year. She disappeared one day and never returned. Joy is still not satisfied with the answer, so she asks the driver Chai. Chai seems to get nervous when she brings Ploy's name. But he reveals a little more information about her than the maids. He tells her that Ploy used to be Uma's only friend. But she disappeared one day and never came back. Later that day, Uma looks at Nid's drawings and scolds her. Joy hears this. When Uma leaves, Joy looks at them and notices that most of Nid's drawings have 3 people in them. She asks Nid who they are. She answers that those are Uma, Narak, and the maid. Joy realizes that Nid is talking about Ploy. She is surprised. Sometime later, Narak sits down and stares at one of Ploy's pictures. He starts thinking about his days with her. He remembers when she always used to come into his office to offer him tea. It was clear that Narak was attracted to her. One day, she came in and asked him for a book. He stood behind her as she picked one from the shelf. Ploy was attracted to him too. One thing leads to another, and they end up having sex in his office. Both Uma and Narak had sexual relations with their maid. That night as Joy is putting Nid to sleep, she asks her where Ploy is. Just then her ghost appears behind Joy. But this time, instead of scaring them, Ploy leads Joy to various parts of the house to tell her the story of her death. First, she is led to Narak's office where Ploy tells Narak that she is pregnant with his child. Narak is happy and hugs her. Next, she is led to the dining area where Uma and Narak discuss the matter. Uma doesn't seem to mind that Ploy was impregnated by Narak. Then she sees Narak taking care of pregnant Ploy. Finally, Ploy gives birth to a beautiful daughter. She sings to her newborn. Just then the realization hits Joy. Nid is actually Ploy's daughter. Joy then sees Ploy go to the bathroom to prepare a bath. While she does that, Nid starts to cry. Ploy tries to run but slips on the floor and hits her head. No one comes for her help when suddenly Uma sees her lying there. However, she closes the door to let her die there. After Ploy dies, Narak finds her. They decide to tell no one about the incident. Chai, Vorn, and Wen help Narak wrap her body in plastic and bury Ploy outside the house. But as they are digging, Ploy starts to move. She is still alive, but no one notices. Joy screams at them to save her. But eventually, they bury her alive. Joy realizes that the whole house is filled with liars. Suddenly, Joy starts singing a familiar song. Ploy's ghost comes behind her and starts singing it with her. We finally get to know that Ploy is Joy's elder sister. She left home to work years ago to work but never came back. Cut to a few weeks earlier. Joy is with her therapist talking about her job. She tells her that she has recently been appointed by a family and that her last clients moved back to their country. But in reality, she had killed the previous family she worked for. Turns out that Joy is a psychopath who has come to find out what happened to her sister. Now that she knows who killed her, she plans to avenge them. Uma's birthday is in a few days. Everyone at the house prepares for a huge party. On her birthday, they get ready for the evening. Just then Joy prepares an injection. Sometime later, the guests start coming. Joy and Chai are in a car outside. She asks him about Ploy again to test if she says the truth, but he doesn't. She suffocates him to death with a plastic bag. Next, she goes into the kitchen where Born is working and asks her what she knows about Ploy. Meanwhile, at the party, Uma orders Wan to fetch Chai. In the kitchen, however, Porn wakes up tied to a chair. Joy notices it and tells her that she knows they helped Uma and Narak to dispose of Ploy's body. Joy drugs the wine to be served to the guests. Wan goes to see Chai and finds out he is dead. She panics, but before she can tell anyone, Joy arrives at the scene and injects her with a drug to kill her. Joy then goes to the party and serves the drugged wine to all the guests. Joy goes back to the kitchen and apologizes to a tied Porn for being late. Joy's psychopathic side starts to show as she dances to the song. She is wearing a raincoat. While dancing, suddenly, she stabs Porn on her neck with a kitchen knife. Blood splatters all over Joy's face. She then cleans it up. Meanwhile, at the party, Narak leaves for his office upstairs. Uma asks Joy to take care of the guests and goes to her room. Joy then goes to Nid's room and makes her listen to music with her headphones, so she doesn't hear what is happening downstairs. At the party, all the guests start to feel sick due to the drugged wine. Now is time for Joy to execute her killing spree. She goes around the party and stabs every person she can get her hand on. It is as if a demon has taken into her. After everyone at the party is killed, Joy moves upstairs to kill the actual culprits. Uma sits in front of her mirror. She has found the letters Joy wrote to Ploy when she still worked there. Uma accuses her of making up false stories to trick them into talking about her sister. She then lies and tells her that Ploy disappeared suddenly. This agitates Joy. Joy has drugged Uma's tea as well. She gets dizzy after taking a sip of it. But even in that condition, Uma leaps at Joy to kill her, but Joy stabs her to death instead. As Uma is on the verge of death, Ploy's spirit lies beside her on the floor. Joy's last target is Narok. He takes the last sip of alcohol which Joy has drugged and starts getting dizzy. He sees Ploy's ghost walking by. He follows her downstairs. The guests' dead bodies lie all around but he barely acknowledges them. Passing the bodies, he goes out the main entrance. Everything outside is on fire. He sees Ploy walking towards and stabs him. Just then he looks up and sees it is actually Joy who has stabbed him. As he lays on the ground dying, Ploy's spirit lies beside him. Finally, Joy brings Nid downstairs. She plans to start a new life with her niece. The movie ends as we see Joy break down into tears in front of the house. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.